introduce to you my little series of mental emotional fixes. And a lot of us experience emotions and we don't know what to do with them. And that emotion, if it's not expressed or not fully realized in the body, that can create a lot of havoc for us in the now and in the future. So the beauty of these soundtracks that I've created is they're working with flower essences. Flower essences are homeopathic medicine that have been around for a very long time, and what they do is they literally just cancel out the wave. So when I first was introduced to flower essences, I was like, this is placebo, this is never going to do anything, until I started working with animals. And with animals there's not a placebo effect. And I had a profound experience working with flower essences with a horse. This big, probably 1,600-pound, beautiful draft horse. I was called to the barn to work with this animal to help him feel better. And I showed up, and he was scared of me, so I'm scared of him. And I'm like, I'm not gonna get in there with you in that stall because I'm a big baby, I'm a big chicken. And so, but I'm the professional. I'm here to be the remedy, to be the solution, not the problem. So I had to think fast, and I remembered in my training that they had taught me about flower essences. So I pulled out a flower essence for fear. I put a couple drops on my finger, I offered it to him, he sniffed it, and then he decided he liked it, so he licked it off my fingers, and he, within seconds, went from ears pinning back, and who are you, and why are you in my stall, he just went, and that was it. I could have done anything to him. We were just like best friends from that moment on. He was relaxed and I was relaxed. So I was taught firsthand through experience about the power of flower essences. Typically, the more sensitive a person is, the more we pick up on emotions, our own and others, and the more deeply we feel them. So the more powerfully effective something like flower essences can be for us. And what I have found to be absolutely amazing, because I love working with flower essences, but it's hard to have the right one. Do you have a liquid to put it in, etc. So I now have the frequencies of flower essences that you just listen to. So they affect animals, they affect us the same, bringing us from that heightened state of worry, panic, anxiety, fear, anger, into neutral very, very quickly. So I've created a soundtrack for worry that is a great soundtrack that includes different emotional components of the things that we tend to worry about. This one was an absolute godsend when I was really, really worried about the health and welfare of a family member going through a health crisis, and I wasn't sure they were going to make it through the night. And what we focus on, we get more of. So I know that you've got to get the negative emotion out of the way. You've got to focus on the positive. You've got to picture, live in the end. You've got to picture what it is that you want. You've got to picture the result that you want. You've got to broadcast that result. And so I couldn't get there. I couldn't create those thoughts and those visions because my worry was so intense. And I listened to the soundtrack. I listened to it, and I listened to it, and I listened to it. And every time I listened to it, the worry lifted, and the worry lifted. And I would say within about an hour of this really intense meditation that night, by the end of it, through just listening to this soundtrack over and over and over, it cleared all of that worry out of my nervous system. And I was able to get into that powerful place of envisioning what I wanted, and that was full health restored. And yes, that prayer was answered, full health was restored, and I was able to do my part by visualizing that instead of creating worry, which was going to create not the type of energy that was needed for that kind of situation. So the worry soundtrack is great. I absolutely love it. The anxiety soundtrack I also love, because anxiety is a series of little nudges in the nervous system of like, oh, did you think of that? Anxiety happens when these negative impulses from our own psyche or nervous system or triggers from our environment have thrown us off our center. Anxiety can be miserable, absolutely miserable, and it can lead to panic attacks. And again, whatever we're focusing on, we get more of. So how do you do? It's very difficult to just talk your 95% of your nervous system off the tower when it thinks that everything has gone wrong. So when we're able to listen to a soundtrack that is designed to cancel out those waves of anxiety, we get results really quickly. And the more often we listen, the more into a place of calm and balance that we get to experience. The grief soundtrack is another in our emotional and mental series, and this one has been very wonderful and very powerful to help us through the transition of grief. So whether we're grieving the loss of a friend or a loved one, or we're grieving a situation that has shifted, that may be even something that's positive, but we still have to go through the emotion of grief, the emotion of letting go. This soundtrack will help you get back to your place of balance and joy very, very quickly. Guilt. We have a guilt remedy. Guilt, I have always described, because I work with emotions and helping people transform their emotional body, transform their emotional experience. I've been doing this for decades. And guilt is one of the lowest vibrating emotions. And it is not something that is serving you or your loved ones or the collective. I use this really weird analogy of it's kind of like poo paper. So we all have to use the bathroom, we all have to wipe our booty, and guilt is like taking that piece of that experience and dragging it with you. And that is not something any of us would ever consider doing, and yet that's what the emotion of guilt is doing to us. It's keeping us locked into an experience. And if you did something or you didn't do something, you were doing your best, you were operating with the information that you had at hand. And when you can come into a place of clarity and resonance and forgiveness with yourself and others and the situation, you're going to be in better health, you're going to be able to make better decisions. But guilt really serves no purpose. So let that shit go. So the guilt remedy, guilt relief soundtrack is a powerful component in being able to speak to that nervous system and let it go. And then also one of my favorites is the soundtrack Anger Transmutes to Joy. So in this one I kind of made it like a little bit of a journey. So a lot of us are taught, don't get mad, don't feel that way. Well, that's like telling a geyser not to explode. Anger is fuel. Anger is a powerful emotion. And if you're looking at the emotions on the vibrational scale, anger is actually higher up the emotional scale than guilt or apathy or fear or shame. It's actually around the other side of anger is joy. And this soundtrack is designed to lead you from anger into joy. So the first part of it is frequencies that help balance the volatile and explosive and hot energy within the body of anger. And it's a great thing to do because if we're not channeling that anger in a positive way, it can be very destructive to our physical form. It can be destructive to our environment. It can be destructive to our relationships, to our jobs, our careers, our children, and so forth. So this soundtrack gives you something to do when you say, oh, I'm recognizing I'm feeling angry and I don't want to suppress it. I don't want to try to drink through it. Doesn't serve anyone. And I don't necessarily know what to do with it. The soundtrack is going to cancel out the waves of it, and it's going to transmute that energy and shift it over into joy. So the first half is moving the anger out of your nervous system, out of your field, and the second half is basically installing frequencies of joy. frequencies that make your heart shine, frequencies that make you feel good. And when you can shift to feeling good, you're going to be able to see whatever situation made you so angry. You'll be able to see it in a new light. You'll be able to see it from a higher perspective, and you'll be like, oh, maybe that wasn't so bad, or like, wow, that really needed to happen, and now I can do this. Okay, so anger transmutes to joy is a fabulous tool in your vibrational frequency toolbox, because frequency is everything. So whatever we are feeling, whatever we are thinking is what we are broadcasting, and law of attraction is bringing us more of it.